Hey comrades, it's William Morrison here, your British Marxist-Leninist and anti-imperialist comrade. Apologies for the voice, I do have a cold right now, so if I am speaking through my nose a little bit, apologies for that. But yeah, just a quick update. This video will only be a couple of minutes. It's just a quick update from Scotland. The UK Supreme Court has ruled against giving Scotland a second independence referendum. There was supposed to be a second independence referendum in October 2023, next year. We had an independence referendum, obviously, back in 2014, where 55% of Scottish people voted against independence. They wanted to remain part of the UK. So for me, this is very good news that the UK Supreme Court has ruled that it will be illegal. It will be an unconstitutional and illegal referendum if the Scottish government does go ahead and proceed and do one anyway. It would be against the law. So they might do that. Like Catalonia did it. I don't know what date it was, but a few years ago, Catalonia did a referendum, despite the fact that the Spanish government, the official Spanish government said that they weren't allowed and it would be illegal and stuff like that. They did one anyway. So I mean, a lot of Catalonian nationalists, pretty much say that they're independent, but they're not, of course, not officially. So yeah, that could happen with Scotland. The sensible thing was to just respect the referendum in 2014, which the vast majority of people wasn't, and that referendum was supposed to be a once in a generation, a once in a lifetime opportunity to vote on Scotland's future. So it would be very, very hypocritical, or it would be undemocratic to have a second one only 7 years after the first. That isn't really a generation. I mean, I know things are bad in Scotland, but our life expectancy isn't that bad. That's definitely not a once in a lifetime opportunity. Obviously, as most of you know, I am against Scottish independence. I already have a video on my channel from a few months ago where I gave 3 Marxist reasons why I'm against it, and I want Scotland to be a part of a future federative socialist republic. Republic being a key word. I do not support the royal family, and obviously I don't like the idea of Britishness either. And I talked about those issues extensively, so I won't bury you with them now. If you want to watch the video, I'll link it in the comments below. That's fine. But yeah, so very, very we'll see what happens. It's going to be a very controversial, very tense year or few years now in Scotland. Already hundreds of people, nationalists and unionists, have clashed outside of the Scottish Parliament. Just tonight, there's been hundreds of people gathered. There's been clashes. There's high police presence, and yeah, we're all a little bit on edge here in Scotland. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be illegitimate and undemocratic to respect this referendum. And a funny thing is, Nicola Sturgeon says that ruling against the second independence referendum undermines Scottish democracy. Well, it's so, the double standards of Nicola Sturgeon and her party, the SNP, the Scottish National Party, is absolutely laughable. It's hilarious, the things she thinks she's entitled to. She's just such a middle class liberal, pretty much. She's an awful politician. And one of the big reasons why I'm against independence that I didn't actually mention in the video I did a couple months ago, was that Scotland, the Scottish Parliament already has lots of devolved powers. We have devolved powers. So, for example, the Scottish Parliament, we have our own NHS. So we have our own healthcare system. It's still the NHS, but it's a completely different system. So we can run our own NHS here in Scotland. We also run our own prisons and education system. We can control our own tax rates. So Scotland have different tax rates to England. We also pretty much have our own police force. So we have Scotland Yard, and England has Metropolitan Police, where Scotland doesn't really have that. Our police also aren't armed. Lots of English officers are armed, actually, especially in London and industrialised cities like Birmingham, Liverpool, stuff like that. That doesn't happen here in Scotland. So we have our own police force and stuff like that. So we have devolved powers. We are in charge of a lot of stuff already, and the SNP has shown year after year after year they cannot be trusted. They cannot be trusted to control what they already can control, because things are constantly going down. Dundee, the city I live in, is the drug death capital of Europe. Not Scotland, not Britain, Europe. Dundee is the drug death capital of Europe. We also, Scotland has one of the highest suicides per capita compared to any other country in Europe as well. We have some of the highest poverty rates. Our NHS is on its knees. Waiting hours in Scotland are a lot longer than they are in England. It's a shambles. So the devolved powers that Scotland has, they can't be trusted with. So why should we give them more? It makes no sense to give them more powers where they can't even handle the ones that they already have. It's insane, and it will hurt the working class. This definitely does have class analysis in it. So I think it's insane. But I lied again. I guess I said it was only going to be a couple minutes, but the only thing you kind of have to know is that the UK Supreme Court has ruled against Scottish independence, a second independence referendum for Scotland, and I think that's a very good thing. Nicola Sturgeon will probably escalate her anti-English sentiments. We all know, hopefully, that the SNP is an extremely racist, Anglophobic country, and every single time something happens in politics, the English are often blamed here in Scotland. That seems to be the go-to for the SNP and Nicola Sturgeon. Just blame the English for everything. It's petty and immature and childish, and it's embarrassing. I'm really embarrassed to be Scottish sometimes, just based on how politics works. But yeah, so that's it, guys. Again, please like, subscribe, share the video if you have friends or comrades that are interested in Scottish affairs. And yeah, cheers.